Are you ready for your window shoppers to become paying customers? Ecwid e-commerce is here to make that happen. We can help you automatically show the exact product visitors saw but didn't purchase on your site wherever they go on Facebook and Instagram using this magic called dynamic Facebook retargeting. To show these ads to your prospects today, sign up in your Ecwid control panel in the marketing section and look for the Facebook remarketing app. This is fully integrated into Ecwid and Facebook and so simple and effective you'll wonder why you hadn't done this sooner. Okay, back to the show.
This is the Ecwid e-commerce show with your host, Jesse Ness, along with Richard O'Tay.
Hey, Richie. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. How's it going?
It's good. It's podcast day. The rain has finally stopped.
I know. It's so funny. When we were doing another show and talking about it with Steve and Mary the other day, I was like, why do I... It seems like so tragic. It's rain. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
The rest of the country's like, you only have rain?
Yeah. You guys complain about droughts all the time. Now it rains. And
then you get the rain you want, and it's not good enough now either.
Yeah. But the sun is back. It's podcast day.
I'm in. Let's do this.
Yeah, let's do it. So
it's been fun. Have you been listening to a lot of podcasts lately outside of this one, or have you?
I do. I'm kind of a podcast junkie. I listen to a lot of marketing-related ones, a couple on politics and current events. So the radio is not making. I'm not hearing the radio anymore.
I don't either. It's amazing. I love it. It's just so easy to do the multitasking learning.
Yeah.
Where you're doing the honeydews and all the other stuff while your headphones are on, listening to your favorite marketing or whatever it is you listen to.
Yeah.
What are the things you do, kind of keeping up with the learning stuff?
Oh boy. Well, I mean, I read a lot as well. So there's a lot of newsletters and blogs that I look at. Pods are easy for me because I can do that when I'm driving, and I have a pretty big commute. So for me, driving time is learning time, and then when I get into work, I do my work, but I read a little bit at work too.
Yeah, I mean it's what we wanted to talk about today. Anyway, we realize there's so much to do as an entrepreneur, but there's always something new to learn, right? All these new technologies that people didn't have access to before, they're great. But for those of you who have an iPhone, and I'm sure it does the same on the Android, but I just have an iPhone, you see how often those updates are coming on your phone, right? New features, new sets, new things to do. And to keep up with all that learning, it takes some time, right? And we know you're into learning, or you wouldn't be listening to this podcast.
Yep.
Right?
So everybody, you're doing a great job. You're listening to podcasts, trying to improve your skills and the ability to run your business.
Yeah, and it's just, you have to get outside of yourself to know, yes, you know your business like no one else knows your business, but there's so many changes and so many things going on that it's important to get out. I mean, do you go to meetups or anything like that too? Or a
little bit of meetups. I mean, I work in digital too, so I know so many, even at work, at Ecwid, everybody is, we're all in the same game, so that's really helpful. But sometimes you got to get beyond that group. As an entrepreneur, in my office, everybody does work in some sort of form of digital. But if you're doing this as a solopreneur, as maybe none of your friends understand what the heck you're talking about when you say, oh, that Facebook algorithm really kind of screwed up my business. And they're like, what are you talking about?
Did you know LinkedIn had a pixel too?
Yeah.
What? Really?
Yeah. So
everyone else is like, what is he talking about?
Yeah, exactly. And you need to have some friends that you can bounce this stuff off of and say, whatever, the latest tricks on YouTube. And if your spouse, your family doesn't know what you're talking about, that doesn't help. You need to find some outlet. You need to find your tribe, people that you can talk to. So yeah, meetups are really a good way if you don't have that outlet.
Yeah, actually, I just thought about it. Today I'm actually meeting up with Matt and Joe from the Evergreen Profits.
Yeah.
Podcast that we had on a while back.
So even though you can listen to their podcast, it's way better to actually meet people in person. I think is what you're getting at here.
Especially when it's Friday afternoon and we're going to a brewery that wants to start a podcast also.
Awesome. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. We'll see how that turns out. And we want to do a San Diego podcast too. There's all kinds of mostly marketing conversation that'll be going on there. But that's funny that we're talking about this, and I thought, oh yeah, that's this afternoon.
Yeah. So you got to get out there. You got to meet people.
Yeah.
And not only do you learn from them, it also keeps you motivated. I think that's kind of there's learning and there's also motivation. Sometimes,
it gets lonely.
Sales are down and you're like, what's going on? How come nobody's buying this week? And, you need people to understand that to bounce these things off of.
So if you're an entrepreneur and you actually had your business going for a while now, then it's a slightly manic depressive lifestyle, right? It's got a roller coaster ride, and not necessarily depressing, but there's times when you're just like, ugh. You want to hear how someone else got through that, how someone else handled that. And it can get lonely. I mean, you're a solopreneur. Anyone who's been sitting there working on the computer all day and they thought the office was horrible when they used to work at an office, sometimes you miss that office, right? So
yeah.
Meet at the coffee shops, going to meetups.
Or you're like, sometimes you're just like, how do you do that one thing in Excel that makes this do like that? And you're just like banging your head against the computer and you're like, man, I used to sit somebody that was an Excel expert back in the day. This would have been done hours ago.
Yeah, you wouldn't even be thinking about it anymore. Exactly.
Yeah.
What, do you do conferences and stuff like that? Or?
Yeah, I think,
we got.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we want to talk about. Like conferences are, if you don't have that outlet, right? If you don't have like a meetup group, and you should get that, by the way. You can even go to like business, like in SBA meetings, or there's all sorts of stuff. Chamber of Commerce, and wherever you live, there's going to be some similar thing. But to really to take your skills to a whole nother level, going to conferences is really the way to go. And it's conference season here in San Diego.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I'm flying out next Tuesday for a conference, New Media Summit, all the podcasters, and that's going to be interesting because that's a fun one too. Not only do you learn from the people that are in your same space doing podcasting, but you also can, well, what we discussed, you can learn, but you can also get more exposure because these people, a lot of the people at the conferences, they've been doing this for a while, right? And so all of a sudden you get your product, your service, your knowledge in front of one of those people, and maybe you get on one of their podcasts, or you get on one of their blogs, or you get on one of their videos, or it's like, yeah, it can move the needle quick.
I get it. Yeah, I mean, in the e-commerce world, maybe you're just one influencer away from $1 million, right? Like that's possible.
Yeah,
for sure.
We don't guarantee these results.
Yeah. By the way, that's a little extreme,
but it has happened.
Yes.
It's not a one time. It's no matter what. It's checking off those first two boxes we talked about. It's checking off you're learning.
Yep.
If you go into the right ones, and it's checking off you're getting to meet the people who are in the business, right?
Absolutely.
And so. With the first one we're going to, what's the one we're going to together with? Oh, Traffic and Conversion.
Yeah, so Traffic and Conversion is in San Diego. That's coming up soon. By the time you listen to this, it might have been in the past. But it's so there's kind of two groups in the e-commerce world. There's like the internet retailer group, and then there's the Traffic and Conversion group. Traffic and Conversion is like, it's very, very good for direct response and a lot of like, I would say more the unique marketing strategies are really bubble up out of that conference and the people that attend. Mm-hmm. So like, actually I went last year for the first time and I was like, wow, I've heard some of these terms before and now I see it in action. And talking with the people, like it really, several concepts sunk in that maybe hadn't sunk in before.
Oh yeah. I mean it's one of my favorite ones for a few reasons. Well, first off, we've known each other doing e-commerce for years. And during the time we even worked together, I know I probably would drive you crazy every now and again at lunch by going, like, why did you choose frozen fish to sell when you could have been selling information, right? Because there was this whole other world. There's this product world of the world of e-commerce, and then there's this whole other world of information and, like you said, more marketing-esque style. But those two worlds never really talked together. And Traffic and Conversion was one of the first conferences that I went to that merged the two, I should say.
Yeah.
Right. It was kind of it's not one or the other. It's kind of, you need the copy to help drive, but you need traffic, You don't worry about conversions till you have traffic, and as soon as you have a bunch of traffic, you start worrying about conversions. But everyone's trying to sell something, product, service, whatever it might be.
And they're all the same concepts. You're most likely you're going to be using Facebook, you're going to be using Google, and then you're going to want to play with kind of the other new platforms out there, whether it's Instagram or Pinterest or YouTube. And I think actually that kind of brings me to the other conferences coming up, Social Media Marketing World. So that's also in San Diego, and it's about a couple weeks later. But it's actually very similar, but it's a little bit more focused on social media, as you might guess from the name. But there's a lot of the same speakers. So I mean, Rich, when you go to these conferences, what's a couple of the topics or tactics you're looking at this year in specifically?
Let's see. Well, so I'll take that in 3 separate pieces. I'll say first, what do I most like to do when I go to a conference?
Okay.
And that's usually connect deeper with the people that I already have a connection with, that it's mostly been online, but then taking that connection offline. Yep. So that's my ultimate goal at these conferences, because you used to choose your tribe based on location and where you lived, and now your tribe could literally be on the opposite side of the world, or right next door, or 3,000 miles away, whatever, right? Pick a number. But at these conferences, it's really a great chance to deepen the connection. So that's my first goal.
Okay.
Usually then it goes into the second one that we were talking about earlier. Our first thing was learning. I want to learn from usually those people, because usually those people, because I've been in this long enough, they're either at my speed or above me. And so I like to try to always have something new that I think I can add to their repertoire, and vice versa. There's usually something I can get out of theirs. So I definitely want to learn, but I really try to time out because of the wanting to touch so many of them and actually, connect with them outside or in real life. I try to schedule, like really go through when's each of them speaking, what's going on. I try to, because I know I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of, especially at the social media marketing world, there's almost like groupies that follow some of these people around.
Sure.
And so you kind of, it's interesting how you can even approach that. Usually I will reach out to them ahead of time and try to set up a meeting, like, hey, what are you going to do after your breakout, or what, something like that, or do you want to go to this party? So
yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, and I know what you mean. There's a lot of people. Rich, do you think we have groupies that follow our podcast yet? I don't really think so. But
my daughter knows we do this.
All right. Okay, so we got one. We're working on it. But yeah, when you go to some of the bigger name conferences that have, we'll call them podcaster influencers, digital marketers,
the vloggers.
Yeah. They're out there, and you see the line that forms after they speak is like 30 deep, and you're like, okay, I don't know if I want to be number 31 because I'm going to get like a 30-second pitch on what it is that I do and what do I want. So yeah, you do have to work a little bit. And as you mentioned, setting an appointment ahead of time, hey, where are you going to be? It looks like you have a conference here. Do you want to grab lunch? You want to grab a drink afterwards? A lot of times people are from out of town too. So that means it becomes a 24/7 thing, like the conferences that sometimes a couple days long, and there's always parties afterwards as well.
Yeah, and it's really cool. There was something you were saying there, I think mixed also with what I was saying. It's I also like new people, even though I like to up level learning. I mean, that's what learning's all about. I sometimes learn just as much from a newbie, but it's not necessarily that they know more than me in that subject as much as they haven't been living and breathing that subject. So sometimes they ask a better question.
Sure.
And so the thing that we've been doing the same way because we've been doing it the same way.
Yeah.
We're just like, wow. And if you're not real quick to snuff the question because they're just getting started, but you really hear it, man, you can get some gems.
Okay.
Because they're asking something that think of all the things that are winning right now. It's the things that are making things frictionless. Uber and Netflix and all this. I mean, my daughter literally says to me the other day, I love watching the stuff on Amazon. You don't even have to change your channel. It just rolls over into a new one. I was like, oh, great. No, but you get like, you have an opportunity to see things differently. And the reason why I brought up that one was Blockbuster was approached by Netflix, hey, would you like to kind of acquire us type of thing? And like, not only do we not want to get out of here, we think people like this idea of serendipitously bumping into neighbors while looking at the back of so it's like someone asked the question different, and then Netflix was developed. I mean, and Amazon, shouldn't Sears have been Amazon? So sometimes you need that beginner mind to make you look at something different, and then you can go talk to all those other people and figure out the answer to that question for that.
Sure.
Right? But it was a long-winded for, hey, don't be afraid just because we've been doing this for a while to not go to a conference. It's just as important, if not more so, to just get started. Getting out there, learning, and you'll just have more to suck in because you haven't been there as often. But
sure,
you don't try to conquer everything.
For sure. Yeah, I think whether it's a conference or even more of a meetup, there's definitely people that know more than you. I'm probably looking more for the expert level knowledge than the newbies. Okay, I like talking to everybody. I'm not as much of a talker as you, but I like to go. There will be people that I've heard them on podcasts before, and I'll go to their session because I know who they are or I've heard of them, and I just want to take it all in. I try to take notes. There's a lot of information coming at you. Sometimes you really can't take notes, but it gives me all the kind of the nuggets of information I can apply later, whether it's on side businesses or whether it's on the Ecwid account as well. I manage digital for Ecwid. So, there's just very high level stuff that you're not getting from, you can get them from podcasts, but almost like you need to see it in front of you. You need to see the screen and everyone asking questions to sometimes, maybe you just need to hear it enough times that it sinks in.
I think you just nailed it right there. It's if in sales, let's go back to we've heard it over and over again, 5 to 10 touch points. What does that really mean? It means, I'm not going to make this be hard stats, but it means it takes 5 times until you probably become aware of something. You see new things constantly. And then around 6 or 7, you're kind of like, oh, maybe that's interesting. And 8, 9, or 10, you either buy or don't buy.
Yep.
But to your point, you need to see it over and over and over again. I mean, think how many different ways. So 5 to 10 touch points. Ecwid, you can go to these places, and a lot of these conferences, you yourself can learn something. You can do biz dev with other vendors, products that can help Ecwid. So you're going to go to these things and hopefully you might find 2 or 3 new people that want to connect to the App Store and new business. I'm not saying you'll close that deal right then, but it's a touch point.
Actually, I think that's a good, we didn't really touch on that, but a lot of times going to the conferences too, don't ignore the vendors. No. Like the vendor booths, of course, they're trying to sell you something and they, wanted to come talk to you and maybe they have some freebies and giveaways, but you can learn a lot by talking to the vendors as well. Like different things you hadn't even thought of.
Yeah. You can sit there and Google your way to try to find out an answer. You can go to a conference and there's 5 different shipping things. And now you can figure out which shipping you really should be using right to the source. Right?
Absolutely.
Not Googling it, looking through docs, trying to figure out which one's going to work. And
then a lot of times when you go to the conferences too, you realize that it's not just the newbies working the booths. Sometimes it's the top dogs are working the booths. Now I've worked booths before at conferences as both a peon and a more experienced person. So sometimes, I didn't know the answer, but
it depends on how long that trip has been.
Yeah.
Right? Have you been on the road for 3 months? It's probably the newbie.
Yeah.
If this is a major conference, they're probably bringing
a lot of times you get the big dogs there. So you can, not only are you getting good information, you're getting it from the right person, that you would never get this person on email. I guess that's a good point. if it's the VP of sales or whatever that's working the booth, that's a person that's not necessarily on the customer support line. So very important to go talk to the vendors and learn from them, learn from everybody, network. Conferences are very important. And the reason we're telling you this in a podcast is we're excited about going to these conferences and then learning very specific things that we can bring in the future. So I'll give you a couple of examples. So, we've talked a lot about Instagram lately, so I'm going to be anything that's Instagram related. I'm going to be going to those, taking a bunch of notes. Some of it might be, way too advanced to, take notes on and put it into a podcast, but I'm going to try to pull in a couple nuggets of information that we can use. Rich, what are you, any specific topics, or are you just looking overall?
Mostly back to my first 2 points, connections with people.
Yep.
You obviously do this podcast because we do it together, but also co-host on 3 other ones and starting 2 other ones, right? So I'm heavy in the voice, right? You even heard it in my prediction that a voice commerce coming. So for me, it's mostly focusing on what people are doing with monetization and distribution and just connecting with more podcasters in general.
Okay.
Because it's, I just call it the Oprahfication. Oprah interviewed, was she an expert? But once she interviewed 8, she became the 9th, right? I'm picking a number out, but you get the point. Like,
sure.
So you get to know the people and you get around and you find your tribe, sometimes via someone else's tribe. They like your vibe, and so I'm mostly trying to heavy in the connection right now.
Got it.
Conferences.
Cool. I'll hang out with you then. So then you can be the connector, and then I'll be the one furiously taking notes and learning tactics. So it'll be a good thing.
It sounds good.
Yeah, I'm looking
We'll have
at
to time up one of the parties.
Yeah. Well, we'll also go to the parties. That's always fun too. That's how you really meet people. I'm also thinking of, so it's chatbot season for me. So I'm going to be
big time.
I'm super excited about chatbots, and I've listened to a ton of podcasts. I've applied it a little bit here and there, but it's kind of, I think I just need to dive in head first. So I'm probably going to hit up 4 or 5 different sessions specifically about chatbots and marketing with chatbots, not just more from how do you acquire traffic and build a funnel with chatbots. So that's something I'm super excited about, and I won't be sharing 5 hours of information on the podcast, but I do want to deliver what I can and from some of the experts, and I'll try to break it down into a Jesse and Rich style that we can deliver.
I mean, that would be something that would be great. It'll be a great combo between the both of us too, because I'm also going to be focusing a lot on not just the podcast, but just streaming in general, live streaming, audio, video, because to your point, you need traffic. And if someone knew exactly the movie to make, they would just make that movie. But Hollywood doesn't know the exact movie to make. So you make 20 movies and you just hope you built the model that one of those is a hit. It pays for the next 40 movies. So going there and learning how to do your own content creation is going to, it'll be good for these people on the Ecwid podcast too, because whatever it is, there's some sort of content you need to create. If you're getting people to go to a chatbot, you're going to be giving them some content of some kind.
Yep. It's just going to be shorter, little tidbits.
Yeah, exactly. You write a blog, it's to get people to come to your website and or improve your SEO. So it's all the same game.
Yep.
It's just
kind of like, what do you like to do too?
Exactly.
If you can do if you can do the Instagram 15-second stories, if you can pick up a phone, and I'm doing this in front of myself, and put your thumb on the record button and deliver an awesome 15-second video, kudos to you. It takes me about 15 takes to do a 15-second video, but everybody's going to find the right medium for them that they like and that works for their business too. Not every business is going to work well on Instagram. So.
No, of course.
Yeah.
What? So let's see. One of the things that I would really love is to learn what maybe some of you want us to learn or to find out at these conferences. So if you go to the Ecwid ecwid.com/podcast and scroll down to any of the individual podcasts. You can actually write a question there and or tell us why you should be on this show also, because we'd love more merchants on the show too. We'd love to give you feedback and help you with your businesses as well. We're all here for learning and growing our businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. So if there's something you specifically want to learn, we're going to some pretty expensive conferences that that you don't have to pay for. So if you have a very specific question, let us know on the podcast, on the bottom of the podcast page. And then, yeah, what Rich was saying is for sure we want to talk to some more merchants. So there's a little button on the bottom that you can just tell us your story, give us why you think you'd be a great podcast guest. We can review your site, give you some live advice and tips. So a lot of reasons there to help drive your business.
And speaking of rating and reviewing, we can always use it. We love feedback. We love to learn. We want to know what you like, what you don't like, what we could do more of, what we could do less of. But definitely, please also rate and review the Ecwid podcast.
All right. Rate, review, get out there, make it happen. Well, Rich, there's another great show.
And when you add it all together with the other shows, you won't miss any strategies or new tactics on how to grow your online business.
So to make sure you don't miss anything, subscribe on your favorite podcast player. Rich, what player do you like?
Probably Stitcher.
All right.
How about you?
I'm an Apple podcast guy. I'm an Apple guy on that.
Yeah.
And we're growing right now. A listener asked us to add Google Play as a platform. So we just added that a couple weeks ago. We have Spotify, SoundCloud.
Nice. We're everywhere.
So subscribe on your favorite platform and don't forget to rate and review us.
So we know what you think.
Yeah, rate how we're doing, review on what we have done, tell us topics you'd like us to cover, tell us if you think we're great and you are going to take over the world.
Subscribe, rate, and review.
It's the only way we'll know, and it keeps the shows coming. Thanks, everybody.